fire damage and would make it inoperable. Well, that's one more thing that you're going to have to, figure it out of nature rather than, have it.
Well, and that's one of the things where we teach is making the tools out there. They're not, like you said earlier, knowledge wastes nothing. Like Morris says, the more you know, the less you carry.
100%. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
And the worst part is when you say wool, because clothing on your back, that is the
first line
of defense.
The very first time I heard Morris say to me, a spaceman doesn't go to the moon without his spacesuit. You don't go into the northern boreal forest without your proper clothing.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a little bit of adjustment and figuring, unless you have somebody that has some good experience, because you gotta figure out what works for you too.
Yeah, everyone's body runs at different temperatures.
Different temperatures. Some people sweat more. So knowing you and at their time, having it done underneath a qualified professional guide, somebody's going to take you out, make you safe, is crucial.
Mm-hmm.
It took me a long time to get fully transitioned into wool gear, right? And pants were kind of like my last. Need to find the right pant, and now I've got them. So I'm head to toe wool, and I am so comfortable. It's unless you've really experienced it, and I know there's people out there that are thinking oh, wool, because I've had this conversation. I've talked to people. I said, when did we stop wearing wool? When did we stop wearing that sweater the nanny made us?
Yeah.
When did we do that?
It became a fashion over function, not function over fashion.
Exactly, right? So, looking back now, because I remember being a kid with just wringing wet, sweaters and mitts, but still warm and out there doing stuff. And the problem, one of the things I noticed is try to dry out those synthetic gloves and without destroying them. That's whereas you've got a good set of wool liners and a leather mitt. Like our buddy Blake, he makes mitts,
yep.
Right, and he makes bomber mitts. But you can pull that out, and then you can pull the two parts a piece.
It's all breathable.
It's all it's natural materials. It holds up to fire.
Mm-hmm.
That's the gear, and it's super warm. I've never had warmer mitts on my hands than that. And I've spent $100 on gauntlets. I've bought way more money on gloves than I ever should have.
And some of our best gear now, once we've crossed over and learned how our bodies work with the wool, it's probably some of our cheapest gear because wool, the merino wool trend, it's nice stuff to have that against that sanitary layer against your body to wick that moisture away. But all the other layers of wool can be found dirt cheap at all your secondhand stores. And go to your parents' place. I'm sure they got wool stuff. I know, like Kelly, he loves wearing the wool men's dress pants from the value stores, and
he washes them, gets them kind of roughed up a bit, and they get a nicer finish to them.
Get some loft in there.
And here he's got Armani pants on,
I paid $2.
Yeah, $2 from Value Village. Good deal.
Yeah, none of us are hitting the runway with the way we look, but we're the most comfortable guys out there.
Well, that's it, right? So you kind of see this kind of bushcraft uniform and these really expensive Swedish pants.
Oh yeah,
I think I seen a pair of them out today.
All the patches all over everything.
I'm just like, give me a good pair of wool pants and
they'll last you for.
Yeah.
All right, moving on from clothing, our first line of defense. So, what else do you think we need to put in our toolkit?
We both have them. We've got our knives, right? So we could go into what Moore says on what makes a good bush knife. It's a pry bar that cuts wood well. It's a Scandinavian grind, continuous curve, comfortable in the hand, not too big, not too small, right? There's really, to me, my opinion, and not that a lot of people out there in podcast land really care about my opinion, but there's two knives out there on the market that fulfill the bill. It's the which was kind of like the quintessential was the Skookum Bush tool, which was the standard kind of Karamat instructor issue.
Yep.
The Rod Garcia's connection to Moores and vetting the knife. But now we've got another good friend of ours, James Andel. His knife, amazing.
The Forest
Canadian
knife.
made. Yep, the Canadian Forest knife. He makes it out of old saw blades that chopped many forests down. But he, he's got all the right stuff for it, and you look at the way his is all packaged together, and transitioning from could transition from the cutting tool right now, but I'll just pause that. But good knife, and you know what? Once again, those are ones that work for me. But I'll be 100% honest. My buddy Scotty, he hooked me up with a Skookum. I bought one off him really quick. I got one quick, and that was my go-to.
Mm-hmm.
And then when James came online with his knife, I like his because it's got the cutting tool and the sharpening tool comes with it. It's very sleek. It's slimline.
Yeah, it's flat against the chest.
It's flat against the chest.
Weighs quite a few ounces less as well, so it's just nice hanging around your neck. That Moore style carry.
Yeah, that neck carry. And I mean I'm not a knife collector, and I'll be honest, I've never really had tons of different knives or tried them out, or people send me and try this, or that hasn't been my thing. I'll be before the whole getting into the the bushcraft stuff with Karamat. I carried a K-bar camp knife, and that did all my roughing, and then I carried a small Swiss Army knife in my pocket for all my little stuff. But after I had carving tools before. It was one of my pastimes was carving. I kind of just have them now. I don't do a lot of it. When I was in the Navy, I worked with a Coast Salish guy that taught me how to carve. But we were sitting at sea, bored, doing that stuff. But the knives that I got today are those, and I've got. I also tell people, you want to buy a knife, just go get yourself a carbon steel Mora 511.
Oh yeah,
the maroon handle. Knife.
You can't really go wrong with it. I wouldn't trust my life on it, but you can't go wrong with it.
So for $15, you can have one everywhere.
Yeah.
You can have an extra one in your pack. You know what I mean? They're super lightweight. They're cheap. They're a good knife. They're super sharp. I can't really beat up the Mora 511s. I did my first course at Karamat, the summer course, with that knife because somebody had said, "Oh, you need to do this with this knife." I was like, "Okay."
You should have seen the way I showed up to the first Karamat winter course I ever took. I'd been bought all these videos, Ron Hood videos, and that was kind of who I was learning under at the time. Yeah. And I had this big chopper on my hip, 11-inch chopper, nice handy Swiss Army knife in my pocket, wearing ski pants, and here I show up. Karamat first winter course. Everyone's in wool and they got a knife around their neck. I tell you, I got tuned in and my hard drive rewired in a hurry.
Yeah.
of it's it's the tool in the hand of the man too. So you have good education and you don't need big tools. You just need to know how to use the tools in your hand.
And they need to be built well.
And
that's one thing. Both James and Rod make a quality tool.
Oh yeah.
And you know what? There's other guys out there doing it. One of the guys in the course, Dario from down in the States,
California. There.
Yeah. He handed me one. I can't remember, but I think it was a campfire knife that came from Jason Hunt. I could be wrong. This is just what I remember. You know what my brain's like. Works sometimes, but that knife was kind of like a Skookum clone, and that was right away in my hand. That was a nice knife. I was just but once again, I'm not a knife collector, and I've got what I got, and I'm not going to be dumping tons of cash on knives all the time. It's just I got these ones until there's unless somebody out there in podcast land's listening and goes, you know what, I'd like to put that knife into J-Mac's hand to go test out. It's, you know what I mean? It's a shameless plug. I'll take your free stuff. So one of the last things, for the cutting tools, right? So you want to make sure you got yourself a good saw. You got a good saw. I got a good saw. I was big into my simple buck saw that I had forever, like a bow saw, and then kind of the one that I got into for a long time was the Bob Durds quick saw.
Oh yeah, the aluminum frame and then the brass rivets,
full fold, and
from Four Dog Stove there.
Yeah,
the Bob
Don
Dogs.
Cavellis down in Minnesota, their gear. But that saw, man, like I was talking once again, going back to Blake, when he bought his, right, he got his first. He bought a 24, and he said, "Man, if I was to buy this again, I would have got a 30."
Mm-hmm.
So right off the hop, I bought the 30, and I've taken down there was a dead standing like hug sized birch. It was hung up in another tree, and I was like just drooling over it. It was completely dry birch, and
it's amazing what us guys get excited about.
Yeah.
Hey, look at that birch tree.
It took me quite a while, but I got it down with that saw, and I processed it with that saw. I got 3 hug-sized birch logs out of this, and we burnt them on a beach one time on a camping trip, and we had like fire for 2 days from these 3 logs. It was crazy how much but yeah, that saw, it's solid. It's pretty indestructible. But Kelly, Harleton, our buddy, guru, mentor, he runs those Silkies.
I love my Silky.
And I went and got a Silky, so I've been, since I think I bought it there at the end of or before the summer course. I think this last summer course I was instructing on the Karamat.
Yeah, it's a good arbor saw. They are a little expensive, but they're worth it.
Oh yeah, James Andel, he just went and picked himself up one, and I had the Gomboy before that, just a folder.
Yeah.
And that replaced my Laplander. But you know what? Those Laplanders, those little craft saws, those are great little saws. I got the worst cut. I don't think a lot of people knew this. Worst cut I ever got my life was at Karamat. I wasn't paying attention, and I was using one of those little Laplanders. And this is my first course, and this is like the first day. And I cut the back of my thumb. It jumped off what I was doing. I wasn't paying 100% attention, and just mangled the back of my thumb. And I kind of was gripping my thumb, and I'm like, don't want nobody to see this. So I slipped off back to my truck, got the first aid kit out, sorted myself out, cleaned up, and came back. But yeah, it was funny. One of the assistants to Campy at the time kind of looked at me, and it's like blood's like dripping in my hand, and I'm like, I'll be back in a minute.
Yeah, see you later.
Yeah, but cutting tools, right? That's you got your clothing, you got your gear to cut stuff up, process. There's so many things you can do just with those 2 things.
Just with those 2 things.
Just with those 2 things.
And let's not kid anyone that's listening out there. There's testing knowledge and making sure that you practice on all the things that you're doing with that knife and your clothing. Like we talked about clothing, you got to know what works for you and what doesn't.
Yeah.
So we all know everyone that runs different temperatures. So what else? I mean, we got the cutting, we got the clothing. What are some of the things that you really see out there in search and rescue that you're like, wow, if that person just had that item, they would have changed their night?
A solid method to light a fire.
Yeah.
Solid method to light a fire. If you can get the combustion process started and maintain it, and you're prepared to make a fire again when that one goes out with some charred materials, you're good. You're ready for the next day. You're prepping yourself out. So those are the types of me personally, fire tools, a big honking ferrocerium rod with a hole drilled in it. I drilled my own holes. It was kind of cool. I put the drill bit through and it all exploded.
Really?
Well, because it heats up and then it all sparks, but it all sparked like chain reaction at once. I was like, yeah.
It's almost like using a magnesium block.
It was pretty cool, right? So, but I got I don't remember Bushcraft Canuck there from Lloydminster, Wynn.
Nope.
He's got Rewild Outfitters, but he had a bunch of. I was down seeing him pick up some knives and stuff, and he'd give me a big 1/2 inch by 5 inch fair seam rod that I've got